Welcome to Mindless Entertainment. My name is Jesse Milestone, and I saw Shazam last night. Before I get into that, I'm just also really excited because my Fifi's t-shirts came. I got my No One Cares About Your Fifi's shirt, and I'm wearing my That Got Me Right in the Fifi's shirt. See, the emoji has my hair, so I'm super stoked about that. Also, I'm super stoked because the back has my my official font, and it's just really cool. So more information at the end of the video on how to get your very own Fifi's shirts, because they're awesome. Yeah. Anyway, also things that are awesome. Shazam! DC has done it! They have outdone themselves. They've really made a masterpiece. Now look, that's not taking anything away from Wonder Woman, which I would say was their previous best movie. Of course, I'm legally required to like the Wonder Woman better because it stars a woman, and as everybody knows, women are better than men, but I would see Shazam over and over and over because it's awesome! This is going to be a spoiler-free review. I'm going to leave the major spoilers out of this, but we are going to talk technically what makes this movie good from a filmic standpoint, plot, characters, etc., all that good stuff, and as well as the overarching themes and whatnot of the film. So without further ado, let's dive right in. I'll start out with my biggest. I have one issue with the film, really just one, which is the beginning. It takes a long time to really get into it, and now I'm mixed on this as a proper criticism, because it does give you really important backstory, and it's something that I wish they had done in Aquaman, where I felt like they didn't give us enough of the backstory in Aquaman. And they interspersed Arthur's backstory in flashbacks, which kind of felt clunky and didn't work well in the plot. So I'm happy in terms of the flow of the film that they took the time to set us up and understand the origin of the villain, then the origin of the kid, and so really get that, and that was good. But it's just sort of, it's interesting because for a movie that packs so many laughs into it, that's so uproariously hilarious, it really takes a long time to even get to that first laugh. So that was just sort of an interesting thing pacing-wise, but all of the information you're getting is good, is valuable. This is a tight story, and one of the things about it that works, right, there's nothing, so I enjoy the fact that it's doing its storytelling through larger metaphorical, thematic methods, which is good. It's doing it in a very superhero geared towards a, middling to younger audience, like young adult, teenage, even as young as young teenage audience, in terms of it's not super deep. The themes are pretty obvious. The bad guy had a crappy dad. The main character has abandonment issues, So just some really basic themes, but I think it does a good job in that it still uses them in a more allegorical way, in a larger way to create a larger message about its overall theme, which is unequivocally good. I mean, the theme of this movie is family, and specifically the family you choose, which is a great message to have, that basically, and it actually resonated with me in a little bit of a personal way as well, which is you have your blood, your born family, and you can have, or you may or may not have the relationship with those people that you want to have. I have a good relationship with a lot of my family, but just things and stuff anyway. I just don't want everyone to be like, oh my god, Justice's family sucks. My family's awesome. But that this idea that there are people in your life that become your family, that even though they weren't given to you, that somehow the act of choosing them is just as powerful, if not in some cases more powerful. So that was a nice feel-good overarching theme of the whole film, that made a lot of sense in the story that they were creating, that they were concocting, and the meaning, and what this superhero means. There's a really interesting superhero origin story in that regard, because in other superhero origin stories, it takes a little more effort to sort of build in that motivation. Why is this hero this hero is super powerful? What makes them flawed? What makes them troubled? What gives them issues? And I think at DC, it's interesting because DC is going down like very much a mommy issues route, which is not unlike what animated Disney has done in the past. I mean, you have Arthur, who has issues wanting to find his mom and whatnot, and there's definitely a big if you look across the DC movies, there's a lot going on with these characters and their parents. They have definitely their parents and their family, and that's actually like if you even look at it, that's kind of it goes on. The family you're given, the family you choose. In not every case, the family you're given is bad. Like in Aquaman, he loses his mom, and it's not that there was a bad relationship; it's just that she's gone. Likewise in Wonder Woman, it's the same thing. She has to go on without her mom, and so she has to find a new family and stuff like that. So the family you choose is becoming this really sort of this motif that's spinning throughout the DC films, and I think it really does an excellent job in this one in particular. And we'll talk about more of that in just a little bit. In terms of the actual, so once again, because you're working with a kid as an origin, you have a lot like of a raw human being. It's a lot easier to be like, all right, well, this is why this superhero needs to figure out how to be better at things. Like, this is why he's not good at things, because he's literally 14 years old, just prancing around in a man's body. So, of course, I think the thing that DC 100% did was maximize their comedic potential by having Zachary Levi running around in this massive, body and superhero uniform while acting like a 14-year-old. I think they 100% maximized their comedic potential there. They did an excellent job with that. So the comedy really be above and beyond anything DC has given us so far in terms of intentional, purposeful humor. It's a really nice thing to see. A really interesting world building in this film as well, because you have now, this is like the first movie that we're getting really where we're having here's your average everyday people living in a world where these other superheroes exist, where these other things have happened. It's kind of something we didn't really get to in the same way until Spider-Man, until Spider-Man Homecoming, where it's now, okay, here's a kid who grows up with this pre-existing, this drama has already happened. These characters already exist. We already know about them. They're already these big heroic celebrities. They exist. Now here's some kids. Here's a new person coming into powers, joining into this pre-existing world. So it was a really interesting thing, and I think they did a nice job of building that. It's certainly not the world's most difficult job, since we all grew up with Batman and Superman and that kind of iconography. So having that, having a giant Batman toy in a store, it looks very normal for us, so it's really easy to integrate that into our movie going process. But I think they did a nice job of that. They have the Freddy's the Billy's friend in the foster home, his brother, if you will, is all superhero fanatified, so he's all this fan paraphernalia, which they also integrate into the film in ways that I think are really nice. So I think they did a really good job of integrating this film into their existing universe, which is very nicely done, and in a way that they haven't had the opportunity to address previously, really. And I think they did an A+ job with that. Story structure, it moves, it flows. It's like I said in the beginning, it's not that it's slow, it's bad. It's just that it's very a little more on the nose and a little more serious, and we don't get into a lot of the fun that really defines this film until a little later on. So pacing wise, story wise, it flows, it works, it makes sense. It's no point are you going to be bored during this film. One thing that was actually really, really cool too is there's a lot of so two things that I really liked. One thing is that they did not give away all of their best laughs in the trailers. A lot of the stuff they gave you in the trailer was earlier on in the film, was very much in the first half, which so it leaves a lot more in the second half, up to your expectations are, you don't know what's coming. You're not waiting for a line or oh, where's that? Or I saw that moment in the trailer. So that's nice. It kind of just gets that all out of the way very early on. Additionally, and this is something that's really that not every movie gets right, is they have the moments in the trailer. They have the some of the laughs in the trailer, and they still hit in the theater. I've seen the trailer for Shazam a gajillion times, so I knew all of those moments before they happened. They were still funny when they happened, and part of that too is that there was build up into that line, there was build up into that moment, there was additional context. The trailer didn't just give away all their best jokes, and certainly not even their best ones, but there was additional context to these humorous moments that they didn't give away. So they did a really nice job of teasing that in the trailer so that you don't lose anything of those comedic moments when you're actually watching them through in the film, which it sounds like not a big deal, but it really is. I can't tell you how many movies I've seen over the past few years where I get in there, I'm like, wow, all the best parts I already saw in the trailer, and they didn't hit because I already knew they were coming. They weren't nearly as funny, because I'd already seen them 1,000 times. So Shazam did a really, I don't want to underrate that point, because that is a really important point for me, that it did a really good job. Another thing that Shazam did, I just want to touch on this, and I'm already deep into this review. I wanted to get this in the beginning, but I didn't say it. This is the first movie, I think, since Iron Man, where I left the theater being like, I want to be a superhero, like that superhero. I think we've just been inundated with superhero films. We've been inundated with the culture. We're used to it. We're used to seeing it. But there was something fresh and exciting and new that really just brought me into this film in a way that it hasn't really sparked my excitement in that way since Iron Man, since the first Iron Man. So that was really nice. It was just really like, if I felt young again. I felt like, yeah, oh my God, I want to be Shazam. So that was cool too. Now, the actors, I mean, the casting was exquisite. Even the kids, I mean, there are a lot of kids in this movie because he's in a foster home with like 6 other siblings, or 5 other siblings. I don't know. He's got a bunch of other siblings. How many siblings does he actually have? He has 5, 4 in the house. There are 4 others in the home. I can count. There's 4 other people and the 2 parents. And all of them do a really good job. The littlest girl, the little sister, is so adorable. And like Mark Strong, absolutely phenomenal as a villain. Like if you didn't already know that from his body of work, I mean, not including things like Sherlock Holmes, this man knows villainy. He just has that perfectly evil presence, and he absolutely nails it. Djimon Hounsou demonstrates that he makes every movie better just by being in it. I mean, even in Captain Marvel, he has what I think is the most memorable and funniest line in that whole damn movie. So yeah, I mean, the casting choices were Zachary Levi just knocked it out of the park. Knocked it straight out of the park. Absolutely nailed it. And just looked like he had so much fun doing it. That's really another thing. Like, he was having fun doing this. The people in the movie clearly are having fun making this, and that fun comes across when you're watching this film. So I mean, just, yes. So to talk about some of the big, greater thematic things, they did a really nice thing, which I think was great, which was they took this family, they have this foster family, and this kind of goes back into the family you choose motif, but they use it as an opportunity to say, hey, we have a foster family, and so let's have the one kid be disabled, and that works, actually, that actually, it's not just like, oh, he's disabled, but it works in terms of his character. There's moments that it's relevant, so it's not just like, we made him disabled for the sake of having him be disabled. It actually builds a lot into his character and who he is. Then you have, like, the littlest girl is African American, and you have the regular white chick sister, and then you have there are more than 5. How many are there? There's the littlest girl, there's the oldest sister, there's the disabled one, there's the, like, big, beefy Hispanic one, and then there's the Asian kid. So, and they played it really right into, like, the computer hacker stereotype for the Asian kid. But then like the Hispanic one he was Hispanic and he spoke Spanish and he wanted to lift weights, and that's like, so there were things, anyway, the point is that they had this nice rainbow going on with the characters, but it made sense. First of all, it's a foster family. Second of all, it's this thing is set in Philadelphia, which, by the way, I meant to say that earlier, one of the best things about this movie is that it's set in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, the greatest city in the world! So there's a lot of cool Philly stuff that my friend and I pointed out, how they made some references to the public transportation that were not accurate, so that bugged us on a very personal level. But that aside, I mean, Philly is a very multicultural, diverse city, so it makes total sense that if you have foster parents that have adopted a bunch of kids, they're going to be multi-ethnic. And it was a nice way to be like, look, we made a point, which is fine. Like, I have nothing wrong, no issue with this. Like, we made a point to include a diverse cast, so that, because there is something to be said, and I'm not taking it away, but there is something to be said about a kid going to see a superhero movie and seeing a reflection of themselves in that. That is there. And so to both of these points, that said, you don't have to have somebody be your ethnicity to see yourself reflected in a character. Absolutely not. However, that there is something nice about seeing it just the same. There is something nice about if you wake up every day and people around you don't look like you, they don't seem like you, they don't act like you, to see someone who does look like you in a way. Now, to that point, like going with the stereotypical, like, oh, the little Asian boy is the computer nerd hacker, like, is that going too much into stereotyping territory? I don't know, but it was funny and it worked, so I'm not questioning it. But the thing is, there was no reason not to include the diversity in there, and it worked for the film. So, contrary to popular belief, I don't hate diversity in films. I'm actually totally all for it, and I think in this particular instance, they did it in a way that they were able to justify logically in the telling of the story. I got a hair in my eye. That's weird. They were able to justify it logically in the storytelling, and it made sense. Like, there's no reason not to. You don't gain anything by not adding it. I do think you do gain something by having diversity in this instance. instance, which is that you get this, once again, this concept of the family you choose. Oh my God, there's a hair in my eye and it's really, really, ow. Okay, it's still there, but I'm just gonna try to muscle through it. The family you choose, and that the family that you choose they don't have to be like you. And it's an easy way to represent it. No, not being like you doesn't necessarily mean that though they're a different race or a different ethnicity. That's just an easy way to represent that concept, in something like this. And I think it just did it well. I think it did it very effectively, in this particular instance. So that's that. Special effects were baller. The monsters, there were monsters in it that they were really cool, really creepy, really nicely done. The fight sequences, just a lot of that was really well done, well handled. I mean, for me, this is an all-around A+ smash hit of a film. Absolutely worth going to see, absolutely worth going to see again. I would say number one in the DC canon so far, just really, really like top of the line. And for me as a Philly person, it definitely had a lot of Philly stuff in it that made me happy. It had some Philly references in it too that made me really, really happy, so that was good. But yeah, all in all, like A++ for Shazam. That's my take. I know it's a little like, rah, everywhere back and forth in the review. I'm sure there's a million things I've forgotten, so we'll probably make some follow-up videos talking about more stuff from this film because it's just excellent. It's just great. It's just great. And look at that. Look at that. Amazing. We can tell a good story and have diversity. Oh, and that's another place. Like, there's actually even a joke about being woke in it. This movie, I think, is very self-aware in regards to the time. Like, there is a wokeness joke in it. There's a joke about, female empowerment in it that I think does a good job of not being like, let's pay lip service to liberalism, but at the same time is also like, I'm sure some people are going to find it offensive because, it's just like, it's calling something out sort of as it is, in this kind of entertaining way. It also does another thing that's, I think, nicely subversive, where it gives you a moment in the film where you think that a female character who is gonna like completely unearned be the one to just stop the villain, and then they subvert that too. So that's kind of nice. They kind of like pay like lip service to that idea of this like Deus Ex Machina, oh my God, women save the day idea, and then dial it back. And then the way they do save the day, I think, is very inclusive. So there you go. So I think this movie does both things. It delivers a good, powerful, excellent superhero film that is not overburdened with any sort of social political agendizing, but at the same time delivers a diverse cast, and presents subtle, and again, like the subtlety. There's subtle messages about tolerance in this film that don't have to sit there and be like, let's tolerate people of other races and things like that. It just happens by the way that the good people conduct themselves in this movie. I think that's just the best way to do it, is you show good quality human beings conducting themselves in a way worthy of respect and treating each other in a way worthy of respect. And that's how you do your messaging. So I think they just all around did a really great job with that. Let me know what you guys think. Comment below. Press that like button and share all the things. All that involvement just helps this channel grow so much more than you know. Also, if you're interested in a Fifi's t-shirts, because they're so cool, Fifi's t-shirts. If you're interested in a Fifi's t-shirts, there's a video popping up that says get involved with me. Click on that video down in the description. You'll find all of the links for various sites, including my Teespring, so that you yourself can get Fifi's t-shirts. You can get involved in Patreon. You can get involved in social media and do other things to help this channel grow, because I can't do it without you. So thank you so much for being here, guys, and I will talk again very soon. God Empress out! I'm thinking about that. How do you feel about that? And catchphrase, God Empress out. I don't know. Maybe you tell me.